No pressure. No pressure. Just like, the God from your home state.
You're listening to episode 6 of Art, Design, Music, a podcast featuring conversations with visual artists that make iconic work for the music industry. Music videos, album art, screen-printed band posters, rock photography, and so much more. I'm your host, Judd Haynes, a graphic designer and illustrator living in St. John's, Newfoundland, a place you've probably never heard of. So you should give us a Google because it's a great spot. Not sure if you've had a chance to listen to any of our first 5 episodes. Big thank you if you have, of course, and all good if this is your first episode. It's going to be a great jumping on point, and I'm happy you're here. You can follow along with all the podcast happenings on Facebook and Instagram at Art, Design, Music Podcast. I'm not embarrassed to say that we've got a pretty slick website, which you can find at artdesignmusic.com. I find it a little odd hosting an audio-only podcast that is all about visual art, so I've gone terribly overboard on collecting and posting show notes. On today's episode, for instance, our guest is going to describe an album cover that features a severed hand with moving fingers when you move the album cover back and forth. If you go to our website and find the link to Michelle Holme on the episodes page, you'll find a pretty slick animated image of that severed hand in all of its majestic bloody glory, plus images of every other project we discuss. Now, grab a piece of paper and a pen, and if at any time while listening to my chat with Michelle Holme, you have a question, send it along to artdesignmusicpodcast@gmail.com. Then, on episode 11, we're passing the microphones your way for an hour of listener questions and feedback. You have a funny story about a favorite album cover? We'd love to hear it. You have a suggestion for an amazing poster or album cover artist that we should have on the show? Let us know. We're all ears. We're going to get a few of our season 1 guests to come back on for episode 11 to answer listener questions about art, design, and music. It's going to be a pile of fun, so get your emails in, and don't forget to give us your name and where you're from. Anyway, enough of all that housekeeping business. Let's get today's show rolling.
It's always 100% approved. It's always like final. No, this is final. I swear to God, this is super extra final version 2.
When I caught up with graphic designer Michelle Holme, she was at her place in New Jersey making crafts for her kids. Pasting googly eyes on leaves, we started there and went on a fun adventure as I learned all about how she ended up designing albums for many of the world's biggest bands, including none other than the boss himself. All right, please welcome Michelle.
Hey, dude, what's up?
Very excited that you're here. Thank you so much. I know you had a busy night of pasting googly eyes on leaves, so I'm very thankful that you were able to take a moment to have a chat.
Yes, yay, arts and crafts with kids.
Love it. I'm going to just dive right in.
Cool.
We're recording 2 days after AC/DC's new album, Power Up, their first in 6 years, has been released to the world. And you have been heavily involved in the design of this new album, which I think is pretty exciting.
It's fun.
Can you tell me how you ended up working with this band and on this project?
So I've been friends with Josh Juice, who's like awesome designer, photographer, creative director. He and I chatted a bunch about different projects, and we were kind of going back and forth. And he was just like using me as a sounding board. And then I think when he realized the scope of it, he was like, "Oh, can you help me with this?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course. It's AC/DC." So then we started just kind of brainstorming and coming up with all these different ideas that could work for the title, and like, just making sure it's like, ridiculously over the top. Like, it's AC/DC. It's like big and loud. And it was just a lot of fun because we were able to kind of work together, and we've known each other for so long. It was just kind of fun to be like, and then we're going to make it light up, and it's going to be amazing, and it's going to be huge, and it's going to be 40 feet tall, and it all kind of worked out. And it's been a fun project, and I really like how the light up box came out. It's been a ton of fun, and like seeing the art all over the place, like, on a streetcar in Vienna, and then like on a burning side of a mountain in Lapland is, kind of insane. So it's been fun.
That's amazing. You actually touched upon a few things there that I want to circle back on. You two were even involved in coming up with a name, were you?
Oh, well, it was always the name, but we were kind of working on ways to kind of riff off of that name. So it was kind of making sure that Power Up worked visually in kind of a cool kind of rock way.
The idea to lose the O and the E in the word power, was that you guys?
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that, but perhaps.
Well, then don't. If you don't think you're allowed, then don't say nothing.
Okay, I don't say. I play the fifth.
Describe what the cover looks like, and just describe the whole, like, the neon light idea.
So it was just, basically Power Up. We're kind of like, they're like the source of the power of rock, and we wanted to make it like big and, ridiculously bright, and we wanted it to kind of incorporate like the general. We were trying to figure out different ways of where to place the neon sign, and it just made the most sense to have it in backstage and like incorporate the sign in a way that made sense. It wasn't just like in the middle of nowhere. So but we kind of wanted the box, especially, to kind of have like this big shiny neon on the outside, but make sure when you open up the side, it's kind of the grimy rock guts, and it felt all kind of wires and a little bit more rough and tumble, because they're not super polished. They're rock, old school rock. So we wanted to kind of have that balance, so it wasn't like so super glossy, but it felt like them.
Yeah, and so basically it's you had a huge sign made of the band's logo, like a massive neon sign, almost like you would see outside like a Vegas casino.
Yeah.
And so then you actually took that to a venue and placed it on a stage, or a kind of off stage, and have a bunch of the band's road cases and guitars and everything kind of laid in front of it. And what I love about it is it looks like the only light that is being used is the light coming from the sign itself. And there might be another light there somewhere, kind of adding a little bit of detail to the road cases, but it's not much. So anyway, that's basically the gist of the cover, is the album, the band name Massive, and this cool sign that actually does exist. And then that sign ended up becoming a major focus of the Shot in the Dark music video as well. So I'm assuming that the album cover and the video were probably all shot on the same day, were they?
Well, actually, the album cover is like, we have this like great visual effects guy named Ben, who we kind of like told him what we wanted for the cover when we were working with him to kind of create it. And then for the video, because the cover came before the video. And when the video came around, it was they built the sign to kind of match the cover, and shot the guys with it. And like Josh came up with this idea for like a really slick, super crazy slick floor for the band to be on, and it just like the shots came out so cool. And Josh photographed it well. It was like he shot the band there and shot the the videos. So he got all these amazing shots that we kind of incorporated into the album package. So like we made sure everything worked together and complemented each other. But I still couldn't believe that the neon sign looked so much like the actual cover art. It came out great.
Yeah, so what you're saying is the version that's on the cover is not actually the actual sign. It's something that you created that basically looks exactly like a real sign, but isn't one.
Yeah, so Ben created. He does all these great, he does all these great visual effects and creates like a space, and we were able to kind of move the sign around in this digital space, and he got all the light just right, and we were able to kind of create a perfect, that perfect backstage scene.
Yeah, it looks exactly. I mean, I would have assumed it was filmed on an actual stage. Like it looks totally legit to me. The sign that's in the video, the bottom of the lightning bolt in the logo is squared off. It doesn't go to a full point. It goes to a little square. And then I noticed the one on the album cover goes to a full point, like the original logo. It looks amazing. Everyone did such a good
Yeah,
job.
Ben did a great job. I really was like, he was awesome.
You mentioned earlier about this light up deluxe version.
Yeah.
Kind of describe what you mean by that.
So it's like box, and on the side there's a flap that opens, and you can the actual CD package is in there, but the actual box that holds the CD has a button on the side, and you can I'll play it. You can hear it maybe in the background. You press the button, and it lights up with a little bit of buzz.
Oh,
and
cool.
Plays a riff.
Oh, neat.
But what's cool is that if you press it, it basically, if you wanted to, it can just stay on and stay lit. It recharges. So basically, it's it's an actual art piece. We wanted something that was like a cool box that you can have on your shelf that was something that, people kind of would want to have displayed. And sometimes you have these box sets where there's just a lot of cardboard and a lot of stuff going on, but it's just like wrapping paper. But we just wanted the whole thing to be an object that's cool. Like the whole thing is a functional, like little light up display.
And how is it powered?
There's a little battery in there, and you can recharge it. It comes with a little cord that you can use to recharge it, and it can last quite a while.
I think it's such an amazing idea. I've designed, probably a couple hundred or a few hundred records myself now. There's only so many things you can do with them, really.
Yeah.
And it's when I saw this, I was kind of blown away. I was just like, wow, like the CD box itself lights up. And I didn't even know it played a bit of music, as you just showed us there. That's so cool.
No, it was a really, I'm terrible because I'm blanking on their name, but it's been such a long time since we've been doing this box. Like I forget the name of the company, but whoever did the tool box set with the monitor in it did this for us. So they were amazing. And if I could find their sample around here, I'll let you know. But yeah, no, they were amazing. They did a great job. So we had like really strange parameters, and we wanted it, we kept tweaking it, and they rocked it out. So even during a pandemic, they were able to get it done. Yeah, it came out awesome. Like I'm still surprised that we were allowed to do it. So yay.
The album is available in a whole series of fun packages and bundles.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed on the website, you can get the album bundled with the usual merch items like t-shirts, hoodies, hats. But I love that there's a bunch of really creative and whimsical items that play off the album title. Like I noticed you got coffee mugs there for obviously folks needing like a caffeine power up, or actual USB power blocks. So you can always have a portable charger for your phone or your computer. And then you got the shot glasses, which obviously ties into like the shot in the dark single. And yeah, I could just tell you we're having a lot of fun with that. I think my favorite ones are the AC/DC wrapping paper. Which is pretty cute and pretty fun, and also entirely badass. And then the face masks with Angus Young's face on them.
Yeah, that actually, I've designed a couple of face masks, since this started, but that was a fun one. I'm like, let's just put his face on there.
AC/DC is a funny band for me, that they were like, when I was young, I wasn't into them. I didn't even really kind of get into AC/DC until I was 30. And then suddenly it's like one day it just clicked and I got it.
You're like, yeah.
And it was just like, oh, wait a second, this is amazing. So I'm very pumped for a new record, and wasn't sure if there would be a new one because it had been a bunch of years.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for indulging me with all my AC/DC questions.
No, totally, of course.
But now I'd like to switch a little bit and have a chat about you as a designer.
Sure. It might be awkward, but yeah, go right ahead.
Well, you can plead the fifth again on any questions here. So where did you grow up and where did you go to school?
I grew up in Jersey. What is it? I actually went to university for something very different. I went to University of Pennsylvania, and I was gonna major in molecular biology.
Wow.
But I was always gonna minor in art, whatever. But at the end of freshman year, I was like, oh, these people are all getting these things called internships. Okay, I should get one of these. And then I found out for bio, you really have to be a junior to do it. And I was like, well, I can't do that. What can I do? Oh, let's look for an art internship. So I got an internship at MSNBC at the graphics department because it's in Secaucus, New Jersey. It was close to where my parents are, and I did the internship over the summer, and I was like, well, this is kind of amazing. And then I got an internship when I got back to school that fall at an ad company doing graphics, and I was like, well, okay, maybe not bio. So so basically I just fell in love, and I saw I could do it for a living, and I was like, okay, let's switch this up. So I switched to fine arts and communications, and I just kept getting internships and working at different companies, in the summer. And after I graduated, I got hired at Sony, and that was my only job, man. And then I went on my own. So it was not what I planned, but it was all because of, the internships for bio people just didn't work out. So I kind of, drifted.
So when you had that MSNBC internship, the first one, did you have any design background at all going into that?
I had I had art background, and I think that, they were pretty new, and my friends at university had Photoshop and Illustrator, messed around with it. And I, was able to make my own website at the time. So, it seemed like I had enough, enough qualifications. And then it just kind of like snowballed after that. And, I got, I started, kept just messing around at school and getting the internships, and it just kind of, more and more weird stuff came by, and I kept building my strange little portfolio. And and then, Sony hired me as a graphic artist or graphic designer. I forget the term, whatever the term was at the time. And then I kept bothering the creative director there. I'm like, hi, I like designing. And he gave me a chance on Springsteen's The Rising. And somehow, I don't really think he thought I would.
No pressure.
No pressure. No pressure. Just like, the God from your home state. And I worked my ass off, and I don't think I'm sure he didn't think I was going to like rock out a cover, but somehow I got the Rising cover, and then it was to the races, I guess.
Wow.
But yeah, it was not very planned. I wasn't very planned. No.
Is it fair to say then that your first album you ever designed was Bruce Springsteen's The Rising?
I never really thought about it that way, but strangely, yes, that would be accurate. That is really that. Okay, I honestly never really had it framed that way.
Yeah, because most people start out designing like their buddy's girlfriend's cool band, or the person who works at the pizza shop who plays in a punk band, and you went straight to Springsteen, which is kind of mind blowing and amazing. And do you play music yourself?
Oh, I mean, no. I played the saxophone in grade school, but not. No, I don't play music. I listen to it religiously, and my kids do too. They've been raised on a very eclectic soundtrack, but no one would ever want to listen to my music.
So what was it about music and the music industry that kind of made you want to go in that direction?
I've just always been. I guess I've always been a fan. I've always been a music fan since I was little, and I've always loved the visuals that accompany to artists. Just growing up, all the visuals were just amazing to me. That was the coolest art and the most badass art. Even just the photo shoots. I remember when I was a kid, looking at Rolling Stone, and there was these amazing photo shoots that even Smashing Pumpkins would do, and it's just Billy Corgan's head on this dismembered head on a sword, and I'm like, yes, this is amazing. There's just, and also growing up with MTV, all the amazing people that became these huge directors would do these short form videos that were just these great little short films. And I just grew up on a steady diet of MTV, I guess, and watching all that art play out where there was very few boundaries. So I kind of loved it. So I just never thought I would do it for a living.
So if I wanted to discuss a little bit of your process now, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Awesome. When you're working on albums, both at Sony and even for yourself, do you usually present the ideas to the band all the time, or do they come to you with ideas? How much involvement do the bands have?
Honestly, it's always different. Every project is completely different, and there's depends on the level of involvement that the artist wants to do, or sometimes the artists are musical and they're not visually inclined, so it's hard for maybe sometimes for them to articulate what exactly they're looking for the visual area, but sometimes they come with a stack of ideas, and they are very specific about what look and feel they want to go for. I've worked with all different kinds, but I mean, usually what I like to do is talk with them if I can, listen to the music, and then I'd like to kind of put together a bunch of visuals, a kind of a mood book to indicate visually how I would like to go in a couple different ways, and then use that as a kind of a talking point or a springboard to kind of be like, oh yeah, I like this, or oh, I hate this. So it's good to kind of have everything laid out visually, because it's easier for people just to point out and be like, I like that, but I would have never articulated I like that. It's nice to have kind of a visual direction that we can kind of work with, as opposed to trying to kind of formulate a general vibe. It's easier just to kind of hone it down into a couple images and be like, kind of like this, kind of like that, and then we go.
I notice a lot of your work features beautiful uses of handmade type.
Oh.
Yeah, whether it's like painted, like a lot of these, like the more recent kind of Springsteen records have hand painted type, or it's rendered in other ways. What is it about handmade type that you love so much, and why do you think it lends itself so well to the music industry?
I just like, it has a touch of humanity. It feels a bit more like real and authentic. And, even if I'm using like if I start off with like a handwritten font, like I try to go in and change the characters so it doesn't feel repetitive, so it feels real. Like I just feel like, it's a closer, it feels more personal. It's more of a representation of the artist. If it's like, it feels like there's something hand done there, and it, has more energy and personality than like a standard font. Like even if I do more of a standard font, I try to like, distress the edges or give it a little like, something that makes it feel like real, as opposed to just something that out of the box. But yeah, just like the little touch of the human in there.
Do you a lot of times create this type yourself, or do you work with a bunch of various illustrators?
Yeah, both. Like the wrecking ball type would just like finger paint for like a letter T. I know like my friend has really nice handwriting, so I asked just to write the Springsteen, because one thing good about my handwriting is that I have an insane handwriting, so it doesn't look like a font. But when I have to do something nicer or neater, I need some help pulling that off.
On occasion, I'll get the artists themselves, if they're up for it, to do it all themselves in their own handwriting.
I love doing that. That just, it helps. It's nice. I like that.
Yeah, and usually their handwriting is nicer than mine, and also it just kind of, like you said, it adds that humanity, it adds that special touch.
It's a little personal, yeah.
Yeah, and I've got into a couple nightmare situations where then they wanted to handwrite everything, like every word, every credit, every legal type, and then those can become nightmare scenarios, because obviously it's not a font, you're having to just cut and paste it in Photoshop.
Oh yeah, and when the type changes come in, and it's just like, I've done that. I've also did one time I decided, I don't need a font. I have an old typewriter. I'm going to type it all out. And then that was just dumb. I mean, it came out cool, but it's just, Jesus, the type changes.
It's only good if all of the text is 100% approved before you start typing.
Oh, but it always is. It's always 100% approved. It's always like final. No, this is final. I mean, I swear to God, this is super extra final version 2. Like this.
Your client list boasts some pretty mind-blowingly huge acts. You've got Sia, Coldplay, Beyonce, John Legend, Jay-Z, The Roots, Death Cab for Cutie, Shakira, and I mean, obviously, and this goes on and on and on. Has there been a project come across your desk that you just couldn't believe you were getting to work on?
Yeah, I mean, they're all like, I feel like there's so many ones that are awesome. Like Shakira, like I kind of was excited about that because I was like a fan of, when she was, she was a cool Colombian artist, and I was like, oh man, this is awesome. Like it's hard. Sometimes you get an artist that you're like, I'm just like a random fan, and now she's getting bigger, and now I get to work on her, and that's awesome. And the same thing with like Sia, like I was a fan before, and I'm like, this is kind of cool, like, and she's rad. I don't know. There's always like a fun element to most projects, and then if something comes across my way and I'm like, no, these people are kind of mean, I kind of back away slowly. But so I've been lucky that most people have been kind of awesome, and it's always fun because like even if it's not someone that I'm like a super fan of their music, I get to learn something new and like get to kind of delve into like a new genre or like kind of visual vocabulary that I haven't played with yet. So I'm kind of like I like learning. So, I like diving into new things and being like a little intellectual predator and be like, oh, what's this?
There is one act that I saw in your list that kind of stands out from the others, just as far as being different. What is it you designed for Slayer?
Oh, Slayer. What did I do for them? It was that bloody hand thing. What was, I forget the name of it. So it was like a bloody hand and it was like a lenticular. And so it was like a bloody, something Christ. What was it? Something Christ. So because I got like a hand, I shot my friend's hand and then I faked a stigmata in it. And then we just kind of made the hand opening and closing on the cover that.
So this was for an album cover?
Yeah, it was a lenticular cover. So it was a lenticular cover. I think the actual cover was different, but there was like a lenticular version where it was like a hand that came open and closed. And then at the same time, when did I do? It was like another Hell Yeah. At the same time, around the same time, there was like a lenticular with this band Hell Yeah, and it was like zombies. Oh, it was bulls that turned into zombie bulls. And those were just like fun because it was like, kind of ridiculous over the top and like adding blood and gore to like cattle. And it was just like, this is funny. And it was fun. And like, yeah, they're all very nice dudes. And, making bloody Christ hands, disembodied.
Sounds like a fun day at the office.
Yeah, severed hand.
Your friend who was the hand model, were they a Slayer fan?
Yeah, they were. And like, I think they did something else on the project. Like it was like, I forget what it was. It was just like we a bunch of us in the office. Like, I think we were like, we like put our name as like the Crucified Kittens or something. And we all did silly things with it. But yeah, it was like a disembodied hand. It was some sort of like maybe Christ illusion. Was that what it was called? I forget.
I'll look it up and I'll add it in. There'll be show notes on the website for the podcast, and I'll make sure I attach that image. And if I can get the lenticular parts where it's actually like flipping and the hand is moving.
Cool.
What is it you designed for Jay-Z and Beyonce?
Oh yeah, Beyonce was I forget the single. It was like a single for part of like the Sasha Fierce era. So it was like a fun little single. And then for Jay-Z, it was like a redesign for his like 40/40 Club, and then stuff for like the Made in America shows. And then there was like a whole thing when the Barclays Stadium opened up. Like there was like he did the show there. So then there was like stuff for that. That first show. And that was cool because I got to go to the first show at Barclays Stadium, which was kind of, I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think I was pregnant, so it was a little weird, but I was there.
That's cool. Yeah, that's fun. So these would have been like show posters or merch items or something like that.
Yeah, it was like T-shirts and posters and odds and ends, and then like the 40/40 was like a logo stuff and some merch stuff up there too.
No one would really usually expect to see Shakira, Slayer, and Jay-Z all on the same portfolio list. So again, it's like your portfolio to me is just really exciting to look at. It's like so many, basically everybody out there, one of their favorite bands is probably one of your clients.
I've been lucky because like I guess I'm a little bit random, but it's been lucky opportunity, and like I tried a bunch of new things, and like and then like I guess like I get a lot of rock stuff, but then like working with a friend on the JC stuff, he was like more hip hop, so I was able to kind of work with him, and like it was like cool because it was like an area that I didn't really do much in. And then with Slayer, I have no idea. I was just like, yeah, let's do some blood. Let's do it. So it was fun.
Do your kids think you're cool?
I don't think so, because I'm really just
Not
like
yet.
I think my one of my older sons was like they discovered Springsteen separately. Like I don't like I'm like mommy did this, but they know that mommy does art stuff because they see it on the computer. But I think once they figured out who Bruce Springsteen was, and they're like, oh, okay. And then they're like, Mommy, when I Googled you, there's a picture of you. I'm like, okay, so I have like an award.
That's awesome.
And then they went to like on a school trip. They went to like a Grammy museum, and then they were like, wait a sec, what? So So I'm like, mommy's not famous. Like I work with people who are very talented and famous, but I'm not famous. I'm like peripheral. I'm a peripheral person.
And so, do you have a Grammy for design?
I do. I do.
Amazing. I did not know that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it was a while. It was pre-kids.
That's awesome. And which record was that for?
It was for the Darkness box set for Bruce, like
Yes,
the Notebook kind of thing.
yeah. I think I had that written down here. Something I wanted to ask you about later on. Actually, yeah, that was really cool. So I want to ask now about the "My Name Is Prince," the photos, that book that you worked on. What can you tell me about that project?
It was really. It was a really cool project. Basically, like a person I used to work with, Jackie Murphy, who was like the creative director forever. She was like, "Oh, recommended me to her photographer friend Randy St. Nicholas, and was like, hey, you need help designing this book because she's had this book that she wanted to do forever because she shot Prince forever and had like such a cool relationship with him and had all these great stories, and she wanted to make a book, and like Jackie recommended me, and I was like, yes. So I was able to work, go to hang out with Randy and, help put together this insanely awesome tome with, amazing photos and stories. And I'm just like I was just really, lucky that Randy trusted me with all her amazing images and stories. Like it's, it's definitely a labor of love, and I'm happy that, I could help in some way, but like it was, she has so many amazing pictures of him, and it's mind blowing. Like it's just mind blowing how many pictures she has of him.
Yeah, and the photos are beautiful, and the design of the whole book is really beautiful. And it must have been a massive amount of work, but as you said a second ago, it's like also just a massive labor of love working.
Yeah, and like I'm happy, and there's so many wonderful stories, and they had such a cherished friendship. Like I wanted to do right by her and Prince and make something that's beautiful and like showcases her stories as much as the insane images. So I'm really happy with how it came out, and it was a a big project, but it was it's still kind of like, oh yeah, that's kind of, it's just insane pictures, just amazing pictures of like musical genius. So it's kind of I couldn't say no to that project. So it was lucky that I got turned on to it by Jackie.
Yeah, and it's a different kind of project because a lot of the records you've made, or even the posters or merch or things like that, those all have a direct purpose to obviously sell.
Yeah.
Whereas it's like, yeah, you're trying to sell a record, you're trying to sell a t-shirt, you're trying to sell a tour. Obviously, those things have that goal in mind, as well as obviously they need to be cool and things like that. But this book is really like, there's an extra weight to it because it's this piece that's like not necessarily about elevating someone's career. It's about basically commemorating this amazing time and this amazing artist. And
this like, this moment in time and this amazing artist, and just like, it's also just you see these pictures that, haven't been seen before, like ever. And it's just like, there's some, just crazy shots of, and it's like, you always know, she's known him for so long, and it's like, he was such like a, sphinx, and like, you get a little bit of glimpse of him more, I guess, like but he's still like, he's unknowable. Was just an amazing musical genius and his own kind of person. So it's kind of cool just to kind of try to figure out, get a little bit more glimpse of who he was.
Mm-hmm. I can also imagine that just you working directly on the project, you would, obviously just through the process, learn so much more than is even in that book, and it's kind of like this, you get this little inside kind of scoop and touch that is an extra little piece that you'll take with you forever.
Yeah, and I'm glad that it's a tribute to their relationship, and I'm happy that Randy was happy with how it came out, because it was it's such a big thing to be trusted with. So I'm happy that she was happy. Happy.
Yeah, I worked on a project poster a couple of years ago. Neil Young was being commemorated with an award, and I was asked to make a poster as part of the award.
Cool.
So he was going to be presented with this award, but he was also going to be given this poster. And again, it was a totally different purpose, because usually I'm making a poster that's meant to like advertise a tour or be sold as a merch item. And this wasn't that. This is just like commemorating a moment in time in someone's career, and they're going to be given one of these. And I honestly felt more weight about making that one poster than I have probably about any other poster I've ever made. Like, I just felt like it's like, okay, I'm being given this and it's my job not to screw it up now.
Oh my God, no pressure.
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of brand new records and kind of exciting artists, we've mentioned Bruce Springsteen a couple times here now, but you also designed his new Letters to You record. What can you tell me about working on that project?
That was very different than AC/DC. Since it was Letters to You, like I was trying to have in like talk the themes of the album, and I was trying to see if I can get some some cool little features into the packaging, and I didn't think I kept asked a couple of things like maybe can I get some like vellum, because like old fashioned was it letter paper was used to be kind of thinner, and that would be kind of nice, we can get some cool ghosted images, and maybe can we get an etching on the side, and I kept asking for things, and no one told me no. So wow. That's the same thing with like ACD stuff. Like I was like asking for things. I'm like, no one's saying no. Okay, well, cool. Like, so I still can't believe I can get to do vellum. I get to do vellum sleeves, and I get to do this. So I'm just, I still can't believe they let me do some of the things that I wanted to. And so I'm really happy with how it came out, and I'm still kind of shocked.
Yeah, it's cool. And I mean, you did the vellum. You've also, with some Bruce projects, you've been included. I know there was one of them, the box sets that you had a spiral bound book included inside.
Yeah.
It's like I've never seen that in an album packaging of any kind before.
No, just trying to give a more of an experience for the fan, just another way to kind of engage with the art and the music. So it's that was a fun one.
And you team up with other designers from time to time for collaborations. Like on Letters to You, I noticed in the credits is Megan Foley.
Yeah. And
so what would that kind of collaboration look like, and what does collaboration kind of bring to a project for you?
I was kind of I was basically with kids working from home, and just mid-pandemic, I knew like it was going to be a big project. So I called in Megan, who's amazing. She's from Sony. She got like a Grammy for the Weird Al Yankovic thing. And so I was like, I had the cover set, and I had like concept set, but it was just great to be able to like, hey, what do you think about this? And kind of hash it out. And she did a great, she's a badass designer too. So it was great to kind of collaborate with her and kind of make it awesome while I was homeschooling 2 kids and having a mild like panic attack washing groceries. So it was, I definitely like needed like a badass, second gun to help, and she crushed it. So yeah, she's freelancing now, but she was at Sony. Like that's how I got to know her.
So you're saying you love collaborating, but only with other Grammy Award winners.
It sounds. No, but I do. I love collaborating because I love rethinking ways, and like you get stuck. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you get stuck in a rut. So I like being able to come at the whole process in a different way. So like random things. I really like random projects. So,
and this was another project there where it had a fun use of painted typography.
Yeah, I do love that.
Did you paint that text?
The what is it? Where is it? Where is this? Okay, so
the actual album title, right. Letters to You.
So the Letter to You is based on a font that I forget the name of it now, and I just kind of like adjusted it to make sure it doesn't look like repetitive. And then the Bruce Springsteen is written actually by Dave Bett, because he has very neat handwriting, unlike mine. So then I basically had to handwrite a bunch of other stuff, and kind of, for like the back cover, I kind of did 50-50. So it doesn't feel like too much, and kind of trying to find a good balance of the two. To make it feel like, cool. Cause like I was, on the back cover, I was like, oh, do I do all handwriting, all like this? But then I just was like, I'll just split the difference to see if it works. But yeah, no, it's fun having a bunch of people, especially when you're, freelance. It's nice having other people to kind of, bounce ideas off of and kind of figure out things because, sometimes you can just be, freelancing can be kind of like alone in your little art office, but it's kind of, when you have a collaboration, it's great to kind of like, kind of come up with like newer and better and bigger ideas.
You've been doing that, is it the nugs.net?
Oh yeah.
That series is like live concerts that get released. And all of those have incredible photos for like the kind of the covers. I was wondering, are all those photos actually shots from this show that is being released?
I really try, but sometimes it's hard to source it from the exact literal show. If it's not the literal show, it's very very.
It's around the same period.
It's around the same period within, a month or. Yeah. It's because it's like, especially with his body of work, it's something you can't find a photographer who shot something and like, like I'm trying to dig up a photographer who shot like St. Louis in '73. Like it's kind of harder.
I just think it's amazing all those shows are recorded at all. It's amazing. It's like almost it's as you keep releasing more and more, it almost just seems like the whole touring schedule has been, he recorded everything for the last like 30 years.
I mean, it's so many, like, it's just so many awesome shows, and like I know, I try very hard to try to keep it to be the right show date. Very hard.
I have a bunch of friends who are kind of like insane Springsteen fans. Like, I mean, I know they exist everywhere. I've never actually seen Bruce play live, but they've seen him play like time and time and time again. It's almost like a competition with them to see who can get higher numbers. And I love, I haven't told them that I'm going to be talking to you. And I'm kind of excited. Like, my next door neighbor is a super fan and has flown basically all over North America to see him play.
I would recommend seeing him play whenever we're allowed to go outside again. Maybe in Europe, because like I think was it Italy or Spain? Like it was like the fans. I'm like they're gonna fall. Like they're gonna fall off like from the top rows. Like they were just like insane. Like, and it wasn't. I've been to Jersey shows, and Jersey fans obviously are just like, oh my god. But it's. I feel like I almost thought they were going to injure themselves in Europe. Like they were just like sustained insanity. I was like, it's a live show. It's definitely worth it. He like brings it. It's insane for I think I saw one of the shows that was like 4 hours. I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah. How many times have you seen him?
I have no idea. I don't know. It's of any artist that I've seen. I've seen him the most. So
I love it. There's a band. I mean, they're not together anymore. A Canadian band called the Tragically Hip. Who
I know them. Yeah.
Oh no way! Well, that's awesome. I know they were a band that I know didn't seem to make as big a wave in the U.S., but in Canada, they were as big as it got. And there was a guy that I met one time who he had seen the Tragically Hip play 500 times.
I don't really know what to say about that.
It's mind blowing to me. Like knowing how often a band like that would play shows, it's just kind of like, that's like years and years and years and years worth of concerts.
Wow. Yeah. I have no idea. I have no idea who has the record for Springsteen shows, but I'm sure I'm sure it's comparable. I'm sure there's a 500 person, but yeah, his shows are great. So I definitely recommend check him out if whenever we're released into the wild again.
What I especially love about your work is, on top of everything else, is the fact that you are always looking to do something different with it. You're not just spitting out another record cover. It's like between the vellum covers, the spiral bound books, handmade typography, the wrapping paper ideas and the face masks, USB battery power packs. And then coming back to that AC/DC like light up box with a battery built into the CD when you take it home. It's like, and then you mentioned the Slayer, the Lenticolor. It's like all this stuff is so cool. It's taking design to a whole other point. Music and design have always been partners and have always worked so well together. And it gives all of us designers a chance to strut our stuff, making something cool. But I feel like what you've been able to do with all this extra production tricks and fun takes it to a whole other level again. And I want to thank you for doing that.
Oh, you're killing me, man. I'm not good at taking all these things. That's very, very nice, very kind. But I'm so cringing. I guess, yeah, my dad's British and I'm not very good at taking a compliment. So,
Well, how about we just say good night and thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Like, hope it was nice.
That's my buddy, Lowell Campbell, drummer for the band Winter Sleep, laying down beats throughout this and every episode of Art Design Music. He has a solo record coming out soon, but in the meantime, if you want to hear more of Lowell's awesome drumming, there are 20 years of Winter Sleep records you can learn about at wintersleep.com. So, what did you think about the fact that the first album Michelle Holme ever designed was for Bruce Springsteen? Like, what? Just incredible. I love Michelle's approach to album design and the way that she's been able to introduce so many little extras that always take the art form to new heights. I'm currently working on a new album design gig, and I don't mind saying I took a few notes from Michelle's handbook and I'm now buried deep in what's going to be the most complex album packaging project I've ever worked on. I'll have that posted on my own site over at juddhaynes.com once it's ready. I love how Michelle has blended raw creative talent with the desire to make things we haven't seen before. I checked out a bunch of her collaborators. Ben, Josh, Randy. They're all incredible artists in their own right, and I've posted links to their sites and social media in the show notes on our website. If you follow Michelle's Instagram, you'll see that there have been some really exciting special releases for Bruce's new album, as well as AC/DC's that she designed. Michelle's Instagram is at michelle.holme. That's michelle.holme. And you can find her website at michelleholme.com. Would you like to ask Michelle a question? Send it along to artdesignmusicpodcast@gmail.com, and she may come back on episode 11 of this show to answer. Record your voice if you can. That's so much more fun than just typing your question. And don't forget to let us know your name and where you're from. Everyone who sends in a question or comment on this episode will be entered in a draw to win one of the fancy light-up AC/DC Power-Up CD display boxes she spoke about. You know, the one with the cool audio track built in. We'll also enter everyone that is following our Instagram and or Facebook pages by the time this episode airs. Find those at Art Design Music Podcast. Once again, I want to thank Michelle Holme for coming on the show to chat, and you for giving this episode a listen. It means the world that folks are actually giving this little pet project a chance. We've got big plans coming up, and hope you have hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so that you don't miss anything. All right, next episode is another big one. Paula Scher is potentially the best known and most important graphic designer working in the world today. She's a partner at Pentagram, the world's largest and most influential design collective, and Netflix fans will recognize her name from the episode of the hit show Abstract that was dedicated to her life and career. She has famously been responsible for the design and art direction of more than 1,500 records, including work for Bob Dylan, John Prine, Boston, John Coltrane, Sonny and Cher, Cheap Trick, Paul Simon, Muddy Waters, Billy Joel, and the Rolling Stones, among a ton of others. What I'm trying to say is Paula Scher is a very big deal, up there with the biggest names ever in this industry. Getting to spend some time with her was a highlight for me, even though she made me turn my camera on so we could see each other during our chat, which made me so much more nervous than I already was. So, if you want to see me squirm, or I guess hear me squirm, then you'll be a fan of episode 7 featuring Paula Scher. In the meantime, thanks so much for listening. Lowell and I will be back for another episode in a week. I'm Judd Haynes, and this has been Art Design Music. Bye!